Present.
Member Wendt,
Present.
Member Schaefer,
Here.
Member Chung,
Present.
Member Smith,
Here.
Member Beer,
Present.
and Chairman Erickson.
Present.
So it looks like you have everyone once you're ready to start the meeting.
All right, we're at 4:30. All right, I called to order the Justice Committee. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes, October 19, 2020, November 17, 2020 special meetings, and the December 1st, 2020 regular meeting. Can I have a motion to approve? I have a motion by Member Schaefer, a second by Member Chung. Any corrections or additions to the minutes? All right, seeing none. How do I take a vote on this? I just do a roll call on that too, or just?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Wendt,
Yes.
Member Schaefer,
Yes.
Member Chung,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Beer,
Yes.
Chairman Erickson.
Yes. All right, the next item on the agenda is item 3, appearance by members of the public. County Administrator Rodriguez, do we have any appearances?
Chairman Erickson, yes, I believe we have 2 public comment submissions, and Ms. Morlock is poised to read those. I have advised her to read them exactly as they were submitted, and she will do so. Ms. Morlock?
The first one was submitted by Zachary Gittrick. Here we go again. More provocation and obstruction from our beloved Sheriff Sandwich, the leakiest of cheeseburgers. We recently discovered additional cases of COVID-19 in the jail had gone largely undisclosed. Sheriff Sandwich, in his life's mission to be the most insufferable sandwich alive, never made any announcement of these new cases or the steps he was taking to mitigate these cases. I would say I'm surprised, but honestly, I'm not when it comes to Dodgy John. There has been no announcements from the sheriff's office about whether there are any current cases, how often testing is occurring, and what's being done to mitigate spread. It is imperative that Sheriff Sandwich reveal all new cases in the jail as promptly and accurately as possible. Since Sheriff Sandwich obviously can't be trusted to do this without prompting, I am calling on the McLean County Board to pass a resolution requesting this information from our resident Drama Burger. This is literally the bare minimum of what y'all could be doing. Y'all have a duty to the taxpayers to be fiduciary shepherds for the jail, which y'all can't do if y'all don't have the proper information. It's time for y'all to prove y'all are concerned about a transparent and accountable government. While y'all can't force Sheriff Sandwich to cooperate, a resolution requesting that information shows a clear message. We should be able to agree that transparency is key to effectively overcoming this pandemic. The people demand accurate and prompt information, especially regarding taxpayer-funded liabilities like the jail. It is unfortunate Sheriff Sandwich has chosen to conceal and provocate on such an important issue. Demand accountability for the jail, demand accurate numbers, demand your sandwiches not be moldy and rotten to the core like Sheriff Sandwich. That was Mr. Gittrick. And let me pull up the other one, sorry. This one was submitted by Bunny Maxwell. I have seen the circulars from Agitation Rising, complaining about the sheriff and COVID with inmates. I support the sheriff. Jail isn't too different than a nursing home and the way they are dealing. I don't know what this group is trying to do other than they are the same ones wanting to defund the police. Inmates receive treatment. I am sure they aren't being abused. They can't be turned free to run the streets and expose everyone. They are in jail because they broke some law. Lawbreakers cannot be allowed to avoid punishment no matter how much these new groups want. Keep up the good work, jail staff and sheriff. And again, that was submitted by Bunny Maxwell. Those are the only two I have.
Okay, thank you. I do want to say to the department heads, you're going to do it for my edification, if you don't mind. When we get to the item that you have for information, if you don't mind explaining, because I'm new, here's my report, here's what we put in it, here's what we do. If you don't mind giving a little explanation to myself. Can't speak for the new members. Maybe they don't need that, but I would like to have it. So when we do get to you, just go ahead and do that. The first item on the agenda is departmental matters. 4A, we have no item for action, but we do have a caseload report by our public defender, Carla Barnes. Carla, how are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
That's great.
Just what that is, and then I'll see if we have any questions, just how you do it and what you do on that.
Well, every month I present my monthly report, and this one is for the month ending October 1, 2020. It gives a detailed account of all of the cases that my office is dealing with on a monthly basis. We total them up by attorney, and the percentage from this year as compared to the last year's as well. So with that, I have nothing new to add. My office is pretty much where we should be by way of our yearly to-date numbers. My staff is handling everything well during this COVID, and I can take any questions at this time.
All right, do we have any questions for our public defender?
I would like to give a brief statement.
Go ahead.
Me and my attorneys, my assistants, especially my paralegal, we engage with the inmates in the McLean County Jail on a daily basis, and we feel more than safe with the sheriff's COVID protocols. These interactions are both in person and with our visiting system. Talking with my other counterparts, the other chief public defenders in the state, I know that our sheriff and his staff has done an amazing job to limit the number of cases, of COVID cases, to a handful in 10 months. Collectively, we all work together. And that's one of the greatest things that I say about McLean County. I can be our biggest cheerleader for our justice department, our justice system here. The sheriff office, the judges, the state's attorney's office, and myself, we have done a tremendous job to decrease the number of traffic in our McLean County Jail as much as possible. And I can say that the sheriff's concern since the beginning of this pandemic has been both for the safety of the inmates as well as to his staff. So that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you, Carla. All right, the next item on the agenda is item 4B. Molly Evans, Director of the Children's Advocacy Center. County Administrator Rodriguez, can I combine any of these?
Yes, Chairman Erickson, I recommend, unless Ms. Evans objects, that items B1A and B be combined, since they are both agreements relative to the National Children's Alliance. That would reduce the number of roll call votes. Ms. Evans, do you concur?
Yes, I don't see an issue with that.
Thank you, Chairman Erickson, for that advice. I suggest that combination.
Okay. Do any of the members have any objection to combining B1A and B? All right. First item, this item on the agenda is B1A, request approval of cooperative agreement with the National Children's Alliance, NSP, and B1B, request approval of a cooperative agreement with the National Children's Alliance, DTVF. Can I have a motion to approve those? I have a motion by Member Smith, a second by, was it Member Wendt? A second by Member Wendt. Any questions or comments? Anything you'd like to say, Ms. Evans?
These are new grants that we applied for this year through the National Children's Alliance, and we were awarded 2 of the 3 that we applied for. So they're 2 separate grants, but one is going to focus on the area of mental health, and then the other is going to focus on training for our multidisciplinary team partners in sexual exploitation and child pornography cases. So we're just going to be putting on a series of trainings for our team members, and that's what these grants will cover.
Thank you. Any questions, comments? All right, roll call.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Wendt,
Yes.
Member Schaefer,
Yes.
Member Chung,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Beer,
Yes.
Chairman Erickson.
Yes. All right, next item on the agenda is B1C, request approval of a lease agreement between Hope Pregnancy Center and McLean County for the space located on the second floor of 202 North Main Street, Pontiac, Illinois. And can I have a motion to approve? A motion by member Wendt. Do I have a second? A second by member Martin. Questions or discussion? Member Chung.
Thank you, Chairman Erickson. I guess, and because I'm new here as well, I guess I would like to know if I could ask Ms. Evans the sort of history, I guess, behind leasing the space. In the past couple of years, when this has come up for a vote on the board, I have voted no, just because of my sort of personal belief or sort of stance in how these pregnancy centers work, and that they don't really give women every sort of option that they need, is at least historically as I've understood as how these pregnancy centers work. So if I can maybe just get some history of how this lease agreement
Sure, I'd be happy to. So for those of you that don't know, the Children's Advocacy Center, we have 2 satellite offices, one located in Pontiac and one in Clinton. And so our staff here in McLean County travels to those areas whenever there is a case in order to do forensic interview and provide services. So we opened the satellite center in Livingston County back in 2000. Over the past 21 years, it has gone through several changes as far as who owns the building. Our facility is located on the 2nd floor. So we go through the main entrance, go up to the 2nd floor. We have, our clients do not interact with Hope Pregnancy Center clients in any way. The space has really worked for us. One thing is it's $450 a month with all utilities included. So we have began to look for other options in Livingston County only because our services are growing in that area, but we're not finding anything in that same price range that we would be able to afford. So I understand that the concern has been brought up the past couple of years. This is a place where our MDT partners, our clients are familiar with. One thing is it's centrally located. So it's located on the square in Livingston County, which is right next to the courthouse. That is extremely helpful because at all of our interviews, we have state's attorneys and law enforcement officers that are attending. So convenient wise, just like how we are located right next to the courthouse here in McLean County, that's another factor that we look at as far as this location is concerned.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that sort of background. And I appreciate, of course, everything that the Children's Advocacy Center is doing, and the fact that you are able to provide these services in Livingston County is tremendous. I guess just for me personally, how I feel is that even though it is only $450 a month, and that's great rent, I have to agree, is that for me personally, I guess as how I feel is that the money, I don't like to see money like that being given to an organization like that. So I will be voting no, but it's nothing against your organization, and I understand the work that you have been looking for a new space, and I understand that, but I guess I just want to give my reasoning as to why I'll be voting no.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Member Chung. Any other questions or comments? Member Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess my clarifying question would be, would it be fair to say that we've been a tenant in the building longer or just as long as the current building owner?
The name, the Hope Pregnancy Center has changed. It used to be Caring Pregnancy Center. So it has changed, I think, 3 or 4 different times over the last 20 years. Originally, I believe when the building was, when we rented the space, it had nothing to do with the pregnancy center at all. So time, I would have to go through all of our records to be able to provide that for you guys, and I'm happy to do that. But I don't believe that they were even the original owners of the building, that's something that has changed over time.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions or comments? All right, I should announce that I am voting on this. I'm supposed to do that. So yes, I am voting on this, and roll call.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Went,
Yes.
Member Schaefer,
Yes.
Member Chung,
No.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Beer,
No.
Chairman Erickson.
Yes.
Your motion passes 5-2.
All right, next item on the agenda is item, this 4B-D, request approval of the grant agreement between McLean County Children's Advocacy Center and Illinois Prairie Community Foundation Youth Engaged in Philanthropy Program. And can I have a motion? I have a motion by Member Smith and a second by Member Schaefer. Comments or questions? Ms. Evans, would you like to say anything about it?
Sure. This is just a small grant that we wrote this year. It's $450, but it's going to be able to purchase supplies for telehealth boxes for some of our kids. We've now transitioned all of our therapy services to telehealth. So these will allow for boxes with fidgets and other items that the children can keep at their house while we're providing services during the pandemic.
Any questions? Comments? Okay, roll call.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Went,
Yes.
Member Schaefer,
Yes.
Member Chung,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Beer,
Yes.
Chairman Erickson.
Yes. Last thing is the item 4B2, monthly statistics and general report. I have been asking the department head or the head of the particular action or information item to explain what is their report. So do you mind explaining to us, what is your report?
Sure. So monthly, we will submit statistics for all 3 of our centers. So McLean, Livingston, and DeWitt, and also our CASA program. So we're always going to be a month behind with reporting on our numbers. But you'll go through, you'll be able to see the number of victim interviews we did, other interviews, and just a breakdown of services that we have by each month, and then also in comparison to the year prior. So if you haven't noticed, we're heavily grant funded. So typically what I will be bringing to committee will be our monthly stats, and then any contracts that come in throughout the year.
Any questions about the report? Members?
Thank you, Chairman Erickson. And I guess since again I said I'm new here, Chairman Erickson is too. We're just trying to, I guess, learn the sort of different, things that you all do. I guess I'm just wondering how you did say in your past item for action how things have changed now that you've gone to telehealth. I guess, have you had to make any other sort of adjustments during the pandemic with your staff, or how do you feel like everybody's been dealing with it, and especially with children, minors, it must be difficult for them. If you can maybe expound on that.
Sure.
Thank you.
So on the CAC side, yes, there's been ongoing changes, but I feel like everybody, especially the staff, has they've really done a great job at adapting to the changes as they come along. We have gone through phases of working remote, coming in when interviews are needed. We are doing face-to-face interviews. However, we've rearranged furniture in our interview rooms to allow for appropriate social distancing. Obviously, we're requiring masks of everybody that comes into the CAC. When we were doing in-person therapy, we were doing temp checks and all of that prior to coming in. Kids have really been awesome. You know, they're so resilient that, you know, we haven't seen a huge change. What we have seen, and some of the other members of Justice that have been with us, you know, I talk about this, is we expect this surge of cases to be coming. We've expected it now for several months, and we haven't seen it yet. And I think that's a result just of kids not being around mandated reporters, so not being around schools and other, you know, teachers and other trusted adults for any period of time, to where we get a majority of our referrals coming from mandated reporters. So I would say that for the most part on the CAC side, we have adapted in every way that we can. We are conducting business as usual as much as we can. We will interview a child no matter what time of day or night it is. On the CASA side of things, which is a totally separate program, we were doing all in-person trainings for our CASAs. We have now moved everything to virtual training. So that's really, you know, there has been some good that's come out of this. We found that a lot of people, that's a fairly large training to commit to, but being able to do that out of the comfort of their home has been something that they've liked. So that's something we will continue into do once we are able to continue to, you know, get back to meeting together. I am happy to meet with any of you or give you guys a tour of the CAC and tell you more about what we do, if that would be anything you'd be interested in.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Ms. Evans.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is item 4C1A, request approval of Tech Electronic Inc. subscription monitoring services agreement. And can I have a motion to approve? I have a motion by Member Smith, a second by Member Schaefer. Any questions or comments? Sheriff Sandich, is there anything you'd like to add?
This is just a contract for alarm monitoring for our e-garage at the Fairview campus, and it's actually a savings over our previous contract.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? I'll be voting. Roll call.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Wendt,
Yes.
Member Schaefer,
Yes.
Member Chung,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Beer,
Yes.
Chairman Erickson.
Yes. Okay, next item on the agenda is 4C1B, request approval of an intergovernmental agreement between the County of Mclean, Olympia Community Unit School District 16, and the McLean County Sheriff. Can I have a motion to approve? Motion by Member Martin, second by Member Wendt. Any questions or comments? Member Chung.
Thank you, Chairman Erickson. I just want to ask Sheriff Sandich, I guess, how, because again, I'm new here, so I think I'm going to keep saying that so much today. Is this a sort of common practice for to have a school resource officer in different schools? Do you have them in any other school districts around the McLean County?
This is the only one we have. This is the only school that is technically in our jurisdiction outside any city limits. And this agreement's been in place for several years, and it's very beneficial for not only us, but also the students.
Any other questions or comments? Member Sandich or Sheriff Sandich, was there anything you'd like to add? Or
No, just that this is the continuation of a previous agreement.
okay, thank you. I will be voting. Roll call.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Went,
Yes.
Member Schaefer,
Yes.
Member Chung,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Beer,
Yes.
Chairman Erickson.
Yes. All right, thank you. The next item on the agenda is 4C1C, request approval of an agreement with Swink Motion Pictures, Inc. for public performance licensing. And can I have a motion to approve? I have a motion by member Smith, a second by member Martin. Any questions or comments? Sheriff Sandich, is there anything you'd like to add?
Again, a continuation agreement. This is needed. Not only does this cover educational videos for the inmates, it also covers movies, things of that nature for the inmates.
Questions or comments? Okay, we'll be voting. Roll call.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Went,
Yes.
Member Schaefer,
Yes.
Member Chung,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Beer,
Yes.
Chairman Erickson.
Yes. The last item is item 4C1D, request approval of contract with Ruth Chen for chaplain services. Can I have a motion to approve? I have a motion by member Chung, a second by member Schaefer. Any questions or comments? Anything you'd like to add, Sheriff Sandich?
Again, another renewal agreement for Ms. Chen as our inmate chaplain.
Any other questions? Any questions, comments? All right, seeing none, I will be voting. Roll call.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Went,
Yes.
Member Schaefer,
Yes.
Member Chung,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Beer,
Yes.
Chairman Erickson.
Yes. Okay, the last item is 4C2, a monthly statistical report. Sheriff Sandich, would you care to just elaborate on that and what that is?
Sure. What we do is we break down our monthly average population just to show increases, decreases, where we may stand in reference to the previous 6 months, where we may stand in reference to the previous year. As you can see, our average population right now, from December, it's sat at 222. It's getting up there. We're sitting on 40 inmates that have been sentenced to the Illinois Department of Corrections that they will not accept yet. So that's given us some real issues as far as space in our facility. So as soon as the Illinois Department of Corrections will accept those 40, we'll be in a much better position.
Any questions or comments? Member Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sheriff, on the point of the Department of Corrections, I know that had been an issue early on in the pandemic. Do you know if there's any movement? I know several sheriffs and counties had sued the Department of Corrections and I think the governor. Do you think there'll be any movement anytime soon on that?
I don't expect anything anytime soon. We have intermittently been allowed to take some inmates, but for the past couple of weeks we have not, and we have not been able to take any female inmates. So they notify us when they will accept, and here as of lately, they're not accepting anymore right now.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Member Schaefer?
I guess I'm going to follow up on that question. Is it because they don't want any more to deal with, or is it because of COVID, or is it, have they given you a reason why?
I believe it's COVID related and space related. They've had tremendous outbreaks in the Illinois Department of Corrections, and I think they're trying to thin out their facilities the best they can.
Any other questions or comments of the sheriff? Member Chung?
Thank you, Chairman Erickson. And thank you, Sheriff Sandage, for calling me this morning. It was right when my children were about to start school, so it was not really the greatest time to answer the phone, but I hope you can understand that I actually would like to ask my questions publicly. So I know that there have been a lot of, I guess what I want to ask about is that there has been some talk that there have been more positive COVID cases at the jail. I do know back in August, you came, I think it was in August, that you came to Health Committee then, and you addressed the sort of COVID outbreak that had been happening at the jail then. I want to say that you said that there was a sort of testing protocol that had been happening. Maybe it was like every 5 days or a week, everybody was being tested until there were no more positive cases at the facility. Are you still doing that right now?
We are not. We did that. We tested every 5 days until we had 0 cases. In late November, we had 2 positive cases. They were pretty much isolated to one cell block with no exposure to the rest of the facility. So we did not test the rest of the facility. Since that time, we have had 0, and currently we have 0 cases of COVID in the jail. Some of these numbers you're hearing from people that are putting it out there that there's an outbreak, this and that, that's incorrect. We have done an outstanding job, my staff has, of keeping COVID out of the facility, keeping the inmates safe. You know, to have 7 cases of COVID since March is absolutely amazing when you look at other facilities throughout the state of similar size. Peoria County had 38 at one time. So if that gives you any idea, and we've had since March 15th, we've had close to 3,100 people booked into this facility. So every person that comes in, that's the potential of bringing COVID in. But through the hard work of our staff and the precautions they take, we have done an excellent job of limiting it. And I would like to see more praise for our staff for the job they've done, rather than the prying that is occurring because somebody wants it to push their agenda of decarcerating the jail.
Thank you for that. And are there any positive cases, I guess, right now amongst jail staff right now?
We have 0 cases in the facility.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And you know, and it's not to say, and you have to, I guess you have to also just kind of understand that as elected county board members, we are here to kind of, it's nothing to say that when we ask questions that it's to attack any staff or anything. We just want to get answers. So, and at least that's just how I operate. So I hope you understand that we're going to get to know each other since I'm new here on this committee. But you know, that is all I'm looking for, is that by asking questions, I'm in no way trying to say that nobody is doing a good job. I am totally 100%, you know, I commend everybody the job that they're doing. But you have to understand that, you know, it's my job to answer these questions, ask these questions. So I appreciate.
I understand, and it's my job to stand up for my staff and do the right thing and make sure that this situation isn't politicized. That it's a pandemic. It is what it is, and like I said, I'd like to see more praise thrown towards the employees because they are doing a fantastic job.
And then also one other question, you were holding new bookings, you were holding them for 14 days. Are you still doing that then too now?
Correct. Anybody that's brought into the facility is quarantined for 14 days before they're put in general population.
Okay. And then they're never given a COVID test though at any point in their booking?
Not unless they exhibit symptoms.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions or comments of the sheriff? Member Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to, I guess, respond to a point that the sheriff made. And I can't remember if it was August or September. He gave me the opportunity to ride along with Sergeant McWilliams. And I couldn't help but notice that it was not business as usual at the Justice Center and on the road with the sheriff deputies. Masks are a new thing. I got to sit in on the booking process, and you could just tell it was very different from what the deputies could do, what other officers from other agencies could do. That was just not normal to protect the safety of the officer, the inmate, and then the jail staff. So we see that, Sheriff Sandage, and I hope you understand that our residents may not see that unless they're being booked in jail or unless they go on a ride along.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? I did a ride along too, and I got to go with Deputy Erickson, which was kind of neat that I got to ride with someone that had the same last name that I did, spelled exactly the same way. So
That's a recruiting technique.
but I enjoyed it, and I thought it was a very good experience, and I also hope that you bring back the simulation again at some point. What that we did down in the basement, I thought that was really educational as well. I see Member Chung is raising her hand, so I don't want to leave her out here. Go ahead, Member Chung.
Thank you, Chairman Erickson. I also thought for a second that you deputized yourself. That made me laugh, but now I realize that he had the same name. Anyway, I also want to just get back to about the question of testing. I know you said you're not testing people at the jail right now. Is there any sort of like recommendation for your jail staff to go get tested regularly at all, especially since they are coming into contact with, a close knit sort of population where things like that can spread?
We leave that up to them. We do employee screening every shift. Every day they come to work, they're screened for temperature as well as health questions. And we have caught some cases right there before they got into the facility through our screening. So it's been very effective. Our staff knows that they can go get tested anytime, but typically they choose not to unless they have symptoms.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, seeing none, thank you, Sheriff Sandage.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, the next item on the agenda is item 4D, Kathy Yoder, our McLean County Coroner. There's no items for action. I have been asking the department heads to just give a little explanation of their monthly report. Coroner Yoder, can you do that, please?
Thanks, Chairman Erickson. So my committee report is, I actually wrote directions kind of on the third page of your report of what everything means to help new board members and new committee members. And, if you forget, you can read it throughout every month. But so we do how many deaths are reported to my office, how many autopsies that we do per month, how many scene responses, meaning how many times that myself or my staff go to homes or hospitals. We also we were taking care of almost 40 counties, so out-of-county autopsies, and then the inquest and coroner rule, so how many cases that we closed per month. Then the closed death investigations, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. How many did we post, meaning how many did we do a full autopsy or how many we did actual medical review? If they've been in the hospital, we already have the x-rays, CT scans, medications, those type of things. So they may not have to do a full post. And then the open and ongoing death investigations of cases that are open right now as when we filed this report. And then the money that's coming in and out of the office. And then on the second page of my report is what counties come to my office and how many autopsies we did per each county and then total for that month. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions of the coroner? Member Chung.
Thank you, Chairman Erickson. And Happy New Year, Coroner Yoder. I guess my question, because again, I'm saying this is my refrain. I'm new here. I was just trying to figure out why somebody would ask for an out-of-county autopsy.
Well, because we're one of the only morgues in central Illinois, and we're one of the only ones with a forensic pathologist. So most coroner's office don't have an autopsy suite, and most coroners don't have forensic pathologists. In addition, if you know anything about my forensic pathologist, he's the best in the nation. There's a nationwide shortage of forensic pathologists. There's less than 400 nationwide. So we are thrilled to have Dr. Scott Dedden. If you ever meet him, he's a brilliant mind, and he's also a brilliant educator.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the coroner? All right, saying none, thank you, Coroner Yoder.
I just want to say something about, so when we're talking about the jail staff personnel, I do want everybody to know I have close contact with them because of where their locker rooms are, and I've never seen a jail guard, if that's what they're called, without a mask on each and every time they walk in. We all have masks on, and I praise Sheriff Sandage on how his staff represents his initiative to decrease COVID in the jail.
Thank you. Anything else with the coroner? Thank you, Coroner Yoder. All right, our next item on the agenda is our McLean County State's Attorney, Don Knapp. We have no item for action, but we do have E2, caseload and forfeiture fund reports. And Mr. Knapp, would you explain those for us, please, too?
Sure, Chairman Erickson. One of the things, so the stats are pretty self-explanatory as you go down the chart that we provide every month. You know, these are raw felony numbers, raw misdemeanor numbers. One of the things that might not be as explanatory, and I'll explain why some of these stats are in there, are some of the categories, mental health categories, the family totals, as far as F cases or OP cases. Those aren't initiated by our office. So many of felonies, misdemeanors, asset forfeiture cases, juvenile abuse and neglect cases, as long as delinquency cases and DUI traffic, those are all initiated by our office. Why we have reported historically the other numbers that aren't is specifically the family totals of the F cases and the orders of protection cases. 20 years ago or more, McLean County had a grant that mandated we report those stats to the grantor, to the state of Illinois, and that grant funded part of, I believe, an abuse and neglect position and maybe something in victim witness. So those were just thrown into the state's attorney's office reports, even though we don't initiate those cases. Many times we appear in those cases because they coincide or there are issues that are also similar to those in some abuse and neglect cases, but we don't initiate those cases. Similarly with the mental health petitions, we don't initiate those mental health petitions. The vast majority of the time, they're initiated most often by the hospitals. And we do get notice, we do receive the petitions. The vast majority are resolved. Either the patient voluntarily agrees to do what the medical provider wishes them to do, or they get better and they're discharged before we have to have much involvement. So the Child Support Division, we are one of very few, maybe only 2 or 3 counties left that still has a grant from the Attorney General to keep a Child Support Division. One reason that we have it is Dean Engelbrick and the people over there are incredibly efficient, and the Attorney General would have to come in and do that work if we didn't do it. So they contract with us for us to do that work, and those are the child support numbers. So that's in a nutshell what you're seeing. Just looking at the raw numbers, And the reason you don't have final year-to-date numbers and you still have a 2020 projected is this report was run before the very last day on 2020. So what you see there in 2020 year-to-date won't be the final figures. Those may change for the February meeting. But felonies are up, misdemeanors are down a little bit. And I would suspect one of the reasons misdemeanors are down, while we haven't run specific reports in Aegis to show this, is I suspect some of our retail thefts are significantly down due to the closing of various stores at various times throughout the pandemic. I also suspect that's why our DUI traffic is down about 200 cases of DUIs, is given the number of bars and restaurants that have been closed for months throughout the pandemic. So with that, I'll take any questions you might have.
Any questions, Member Schaefer?
I don't know if you have this number. I should have probably asked you earlier to provide this number. As you know, Governor Pritzker expunged a whole lot of cannabis records, and did they break that down by county, or do you know how many were in this county? Were there many that were expunged?
I haven't got those numbers, and I do not know if they're going to forward those to us. So I just don't have those handy, Member Schaefer. And like you said, that just happened, so we could get that sent to us later. And if I get those, I'll share with you.
Any other questions? All right, seeing none, thank you, State's Attorney Knapp.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is item 4F. There's no items for action, but we do have Mike Donovan, Director of Court Services. I've been asking all the heads of these, or the directors, to explain their report. So if you would go ahead and please explain yours, thank you.
Yeah, good evening, Chairman and board members. When the report that you get from us monthly is a statistical report, a breakdown of the offenders, our clients that we're supervising in the community at any one time for a given month. We also, we're lucky enough to have a lot of specialization in our county, as you can see from the report, where we have a lot of specially trained officers that handle certain types of offenders, which I believe makes for a safer community. The report also will show the other services that we provide besides just probation supervision. Being a court services department, we do a lot more for the court regarding social investigations, pre-sentence investigations. We have a very robust and leading pretrial department within the state. And we've started an emerging adult division within our probation, adult and juvenile probation department that is getting a lot of views throughout the state and a lot of contact from a lot of different jurisdictions on our policies and procedures regarding those emerging adult populations. So we're lucky enough in this community to specialize, do a lot of forward thinking supervision and strategies with clients that I think make for a pretty safe community when dealing with these offenders.
Thank you. Do you have any questions or comments? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Donovan.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Yeah. Next item is item 4G, no item for action, but we do have the monthly statistical reports of our McLean County Circuit Clerk, Don Everhart. Don, I've been asking the department heads to explain the reports. Do you mind just kind of explaining yours?
Very glad to, Mr. Chairman. What you see is the report that circuit clerks are or statistical reports circuit clerks are required to submit to the Administrative Office of Illinois Courts, as well as a copy to the county. It shows at the beginning of the month how many cases are still pending per case category, how many new cases are filed in that same period, how many cases were reinstated in that period, how many are disposed. And then you see at the end of that month, how many cases were still pending, and they compare that with how many were still pending at the same time the year before, that time frame. It's a pretty simple report.
Any questions or comments of our circuit clerk? All right, seeing none. Thank you, Don.
All right, thank you.
Next item on the agenda is item 4H, 2, report on employment activities, County Administrator Rodriguez.
Thank you, Chairman Erickson. I can answer any questions of the membership regarding the report on page 89 of your packet. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? All right, seeing none. Next item on the agenda is other business and communication. Does anybody have anything they want to say, or other than we're new? I mean, we're trying to we're trying to figure them both out, Member Chung. All right, so bear with me. But anybody have anything they want to say? All right, seeing none.
I'm not new. I've been on this committee for 10 years.
Anybody else? Well, you can help me out, Member Schaefer, then, if I'm not following the typical Justice Committee protocol, and if I miss it or something. All right, next item on the agenda is recommendation, payment of bills and transfers. Do we do the bills first, I presume? I've got bills. I've got a letter here from our county auditor, Michelle Anderson, and we have bills in make sure I'm reading this right, $836,736.18. Can I have a motion to approve? I have a motion by Member Smith, a second by Member Chung. Any questions or comments? And I'll be voting. Roll call.
Member Martin,
Yeah.
Member Wendt,
Yes.
Member Schaefer,
Yes.
Member Chung,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Beer,
Yes.
Chairman Erickson.
Yes. All right, the next item is transfers. Did I do these one at a time? Julie, is that what I do? Can I combine them, or what do I need to do?
Let's ask Camille, because Camille, it's two different departments. I don't know.
I would recommend, because it's two different fund accounts and departments, that you do them separately. Sorry.
Do I read out the entire total number or each line item, or how do I do transfers? Or
I think, Chairman, if I may, you can summarize and allude to the page number and start with the appropriation transfer request from I believe the first one is the Public Defender's Office on page 90, and just summarize.
Okay, all right. On page 90 of our packet, of our agenda, we have a transfer request from the Public Defender's Office. One for photo supplies and one for letterhead. And then we have one for non-major equipment. Those the same ones or those different ones? Non-major equipment, 700, 200.
It's transferring photo supplies
One
and
to
letterhead to.
All right. The non-major equipment. All right. Any questions? Can I have a motion to approve? Let's do it that way. I have a motion by Member Martin, a second by Member Smith. Any questions or comments? I'll be voting. Roll call.
Member Martin,
Yeah.
Member Schaefer,
Yes.
Member Wendt,
Yes.
Member Chung,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Beer,
Yes.
Chairman Erickson.
Yes. All right. Next item on the agenda is transfers within the circuit clerk's office. We have a transfer of office equipment, furniture, maintenance of $1,873 to microfilming services, one for non-contractual services to microfilming services, operating supplies to microfilming services, non-major equipment to microfilming services, and travel expense to equipment maintenance contract. That's on page 92 of your packet. And can I have a motion to approve? I have a motion by member Smith and a second by member Schaefer. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, I'll be voting. Roll call.
Member Martin,
Yes.
Member Went,
Yes.
Member Schaefer,
Yes.
Member Chung,
Yes.
Member Smith,
Yes.
Member Beer,
Yes.
Chairman Erickson.
Yes. All right, last item on the agenda, is adjournment. Can I have a motion to adjourn? I have a motion from member Chung, a second by member Smith. Do I have to really do roll call for that? I mean, no. Hey, I'm new. I'm new too. We're figuring, but does that get us out? George has already left, so it must get us out. Thank you for coming.